Hey everyone, it's Tom here with Travel Economics, and I hope you're all having a fantastic day today. So, this is what $1 million gets you in Toronto, Ontario. And this is what $1 million can get you somewhere in Sydney, Australia. The painful truth is that housing prices have skyrocketed in so many countries around the world. And in many places, buying your dream house is nothing but a dream because it's so expensive to get into the market. But did you know there's actually some countries and cities where you can still buy incredibly affordable real estate for a budget of around $100,000? That's right, and I'm not just talking super tiny condos or rundown shacks here. There are still places on earth where you can find modern builds, antique homes, countryside cottages, and sometimes even beachfront villas, all on an incredible budget. So sit back and put on your house hunting hat, because in this video, I'm sharing 10 different countries and places where you can buy some really decent houses on a budget of $100,000 or even less in some cases. Now, this video is also sharing some real listings I found during my research, so you're definitely going to want to check them out. And stick around until the end because I'm also covering some very important red flags and considerations you should have when searching for your dream home. You don't want to miss it. Let's get to it. All right, guys, so the first country on the list where you can find some pretty impressive real estate for $100,000 or even less is France. Now, you might have seen headlines about how you can buy entire castles or countryside estates in France for a couple of $100,000. And honestly, this is true. Parts of France have some absolutely breathtaking listings, but oftentimes these castles or countryside estates are in the $200,000 to $500,000 range, or even more. Again, this makes sense because a lot of these estates are massive, they have historical relevance, and so people looking to buy an entire castle, sure, you can go to France, but you're not really finding much for a budget of $100,000. However, France still has plenty of regions where you can find some beautiful homes or countryside cottages, especially in areas like Normandy or away from some of the larger cities, on an incredible budget. I mean, just take a look at some of these listings I found on ProperStar as an example. This charming 4-bedroom countryside villa is an example. It's in a beautiful quiet town, it has a nice garden, and sure, the place needs some fresh paint and renovations, but it's listed for around $75,000 USD. And so even if you got a property like this and you put $50,000 into renovations, you could end up with a really beautiful countryside home. You can also find plenty of more modern options if you're really not looking to dive into a massive renovation. For example, I found this cute modern village cottage that's around $90,000 USD. And what's really nice is that many of these French listings also have multiple bedrooms, and again, you're living in the beautiful French countryside, and you're not living in a cramped, tiny apartment in a city somewhere. Alright guys, and the second destination on this list of places you can buy pretty cool real estate for $100,000 or less is Greece. Now, I've spent several months in Greece over summer. I absolutely love it. I island hopped all over, and let me just say, you can find some incredibly cool houses and plots of land and real estate opportunities on an incredible budget. This is especially true if you go to some of the less popular towns or the smaller islands and you're not just sticking to touristy hotspots. For example, there's places like this historic home in Corfu that's going for just over $100,000. And sure, many of these properties look a bit old on the outside, but they have amazing gardens and are situated in beautiful hillside areas or even by the coast in some cases. You can also find plenty of homes with multiple bedrooms and some really nice gardens and architecture like this other listing I found. This is a cool property in Caterini, and again, it's listed for under $100,000, and again, you have this nice garden and a beautiful countryside sort of living situation going on that could be exactly what you're looking for. Now, Greece also has some super cheap listings, like in the $20,000 to $50,000 range, but most of these require serious renovations, like they're very old homes, they've been run down for years or even abandoned, or they're basically unlivable because they need so much work done. One other thing I noticed in Greece is that there's a lot of cheap land available as well, and I actually met a couple from Poland when I was in Greece that had bought a plot of land and were in the process of building their dream home. On top of that, the overall cost of living in Greece isn't as high as a lot of places in Western Europe, just as a comparison, so it could be a great retirement destination, and again, you have wonderful people, amazing culture, great food, and some breathtaking views. All right guys, and coming in at number 3 on this list, it's a country I've mentioned on this channel a couple of times, and that country is Romania. And really, Romania is an affordable destination to retire or live already, just in terms of living costs, but it also has some very affordable real estate options. For example, in regions like Transylvania, you can buy large countryside homes, renovated Saxon houses, or even old villas with decent garden space. My dad actually grew up in the countryside in Romania. I've visited there before, and there are some seriously nice properties out there And again, many of them are on a budget. For example, here's a listing I found for around $120,000. It has a beautiful garden with fruit trees, it's in a quiet area, and sure, it's a bit dated inside, but honestly, the exterior is very nice. You can also find a lot of really remote or rural homes or cottages in the $50,000 to $75,000 range. And again, this isn't a luxury villa or anything, but you're getting some pretty good value. On top of that, Romania is part of the EU. It's incredibly affordable, like I mentioned, so it is a pretty decent destination to consider if you can live and retire in the EU and you're really looking for some beautiful homes on a budget. All right, guys, and the fourth country on this list I wanted to cover is the Philippines. And I covered the Philippines recently in a video I made on the cheapest places to retire, and affordable housing certainly is a contributing factor to why the Philippines is a very affordable place to live. And first off, I'll start out by saying that you can find so many affordable condos or apartments that kind of have a modern look and feel for around 100,000 USD. I'll put some on screen here. You can see they have nice designs. They're more modern in terms of how they look. They're relatively new builds as well. And on top of that, some of these condos are in gated communities where you also get amenities like pool, you get security, you have some other things going on. Maybe the gardening is taken care of for you, things like that. And again, this is why the Philippines is a very popular place to retire, because for just $100,000, you can get a lot of value for your money. There's also lots of cheap land available if you feel like buying land and then paying developers to build a house for you as well, although this would likely be over $100,000. You can also find some cheap places around the beach towns or different beach areas, but these might be very run down or again be a new condo build. But overall, the Philippines is a very popular destination for retirees, expats, and digital nomads alike, and it certainly has some very cheap real estate options. All right, guys, and coming at number 5 on this list is Colombia, another country I've visited numerous times and have also mentioned on this channel. And I will say that the rental market and kind of the property market in general is going up, especially in places like Medellin or Bogota, but you can still find some hidden gems. And even in these cities, you can often find some really decent condos on a budget of around $100,000, maybe a little bit more or maybe a little bit less. For example, I found some listings on ProperStar in the $75,000 to $125,000 range. And again, they're not luxury villas or anything like that, but they are pretty decent condos. But really, I think some of the best opportunities in Colombia are in the countryside or the smaller towns, or getting kind of a finca or cottage to live in. And so fincas are basically cottages that are often tucked away in the rainforest where you can get a lot of land, beautiful nature, and a more rustic vibe. And here's another listing I found on ProperStar for just over $100,000 that I wanted to show you guys. You can see it has some really beautiful landscape, a beautiful garden, and again, the house isn't anything to write home about, but it's really a lot of land and space for not that much money. Additionally, Colombia does have a visa where you can essentially get temporary residence through real estate and then eventually turn that into permanent residency as well. So real estate investment is an option for getting your permanent residency in Colombia. All right, guys, and the 6th country I wanted to mention in this video is Portugal. Now, Portugal has really been a long-time favorite for retirees or expats looking to live somewhere affordable in Europe. And even with the rising prices because of tourism, this really hasn't changed yet. You can still find plenty of affordable real estate in Portugal, and I'm not just talking about the really cheap $25,000 to $50,000 fixer-uppers that essentially need a brand new build. You can actually find some pretty updated modern properties or vacation homes or cottages for a budget of $100,000 or around that ballpark figure. For example, I found this one listing that looks super cool and it's only 102,000 USD. And you can find other affordable places like this or maybe a little bit more in the $150,000 range. Again, there are some much cheaper listings in Portugal, and you can look through some property listing websites that cover Portugal and you'll find some homes listed for like 20,000 euro, 30,000, 40, 50,000 euro. But again, these are real fixer-uppers, so unless you're incredibly handy or willing to take on a big project like that, I'd probably have a higher budget. All right, guys, and the 7th country on this list where you can find homes for around $100,000 is Ecuador. And really, Ecuador offers everything from lush jungles to oceanfront bliss, and it really has some truly affordable prices. Now, of course, the capital city of Quito has some very affordable listings. You can find apartments or condos, often in the $65,000 to $100,000 range, that look pretty decent. But you also have some great options if you're looking for some beachfront living or oceanside living, and again, you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of major cities. For example, in the Santa Elena province, you can find ocean view homes for around $100,000 or a little bit more. And I found this amazing one in Bayanita for $65,000 that's minutes from the beach and actually looks pretty nice. Overall, Ecuador also has a very low cost of living, so again, it is becoming a more popular choice for expats, nomads, and retirees. I will say though that you really need to know Spanish if you plan on going to Ecuador and dealing with the real estate market there, because not that much of the population speaks English, so keep this in mind. Alright guys, and the 8th country in this video I wanted to cover is Bulgaria. And really, Bulgaria is one of the cheapest countries in Eastern Europe. Again, it's popular for retirees, popular for nomads because of the low cost of living, and it has some really great real estate options as well. I mean, in countryside villages or even near the Black Sea coast, you can find renovated cottages and family-sized homes for less than $100,000. Overall, it's peaceful, slow-paced, and it offers EU residency benefits as well. And really, not to lump all of them together, but if you're looking in Eastern Europe, you're looking at Romania or Bulgaria or Albania or these kinds of countries, you can find tons of affordable real estate. So I don't want this video to be half an hour long, but there are so many options to explore in this part of Europe. Alright guys, and the 9th country I wanted to cover in this video, it's another one I've been to several times, and that's the Dominican Republic. Now, I went to the Dominican Republic when I was a kid and eventually when I was in university, and for a time my parents were actually dreaming of getting a retirement home or vacation home in the Dominican Republic. And really, you can't blame them or the many other people who go to the Dominican Republic looking for real estate because you have some truly affordable options. For example, condos with stunning sea views in places like Las Terrenas can go for around $90,000 US. And there's tons of new condos, hotels, and apartments that are pretty modern and are often in the $100,000 range. Again, a lot of hotels or real estate developers in Dominican try and attract vacationers, they try and attract snowbirds, and so there's some pretty compelling real estate options in the country, all on a budget. The country also offers some tax incentives for international buyers, and it does have a pretty booming tourist industry, so again, a very popular destination that you can have on your radar. Alright guys, and the 10th and final country I wanted to cover in this video is Turkey. And really in Turkey, because it's such a large and diverse country, you have a mix of everything from affordable condos and apartments to countryside homes to choose from, and really there are tons of affordable listings that you can search for. And again guys, this isn't just Istanbul. I'll put up a property listing website right here and I'll show you some of the listings I found, but again, you can find cottages or pretty modern condos or really nice countryside homes for around 100,000 USD. And again, Turkey is really a compelling option if you want to be situated between Europe and Asia and you kind of want to be somewhere where international travel is quite easy. On top of that, Turkey offers great food, rich culture, and there's no shortage of beautiful sunsets and wonderful historical sites for you to check out. But anyways guys, that does it for 10 different countries where you can find some really decent homes and real estate options on around a budget of 100K. But like I said in the intro, I want to cover a few important considerations and maybe some red flags you should have as well during your house hunting journey. And really the first one would just be to maybe consider increasing your budget slightly or delaying this home purchasing process for a couple of years. And really that's because once you get into the $200,000 to $300,000 range, your options explode quite dramatically. I mean, I've spent a lot of time searching real estate websites in pretty much any country I visit during my nomad journeys, and that's honestly something I've noticed. Like a budget of 100K, you can find some nice condos or some little countryside homes, but as soon as you increase that by 100K, 150K, you get so many more options. On top of that, if you're planning something like renovations or you want to buy land and build something, you're probably going to go over budget, so it does make sense to shop around with, again, a bit more of a budget, even if that means delaying this plan for a couple of years. Now, my second tip, and this is really one important red flag to kind of keep in mind, is that you should also be somewhat cautious of new builds that are promised to international buyers. This is honestly something a lot of people have gotten burned with in countries like the Dominican Republic, where essentially they go on vacation, they fall in love with the country, they talk to a real estate developer there who promises them a breathtaking, beachfront condo that'll be built in the next year or two. This couple puts down the money, they invest for this dream home of theirs, and next thing you know, that 2-year build takes 4 or 5 years, or maybe the developer runs out of money, or maybe they need more money. And you hear stories all the time of these kind of headaches where people invest in this dream home that's being built and it never really finishes on time. This also kind of brings me to my third point, and that's just to be cautious of those real fixer-upper homes or those $1 homes you see advertised online. Don't get me wrong, the $1 home programs that countries like Italy have rolled out are super cool, but the true cost of these homes is not even close to $1. When you factor in the renovation costs and also the difficulties of getting local labor and sticking to a timeline and actually building out these homes, it is much higher than $1. There's cases where people have paid well over $100,000 or been pretty unhappy with the end product they end up getting. So again, just something to keep in mind during your research. And loosely, this ties me into my fourth point, and that would just be to talk to as many expats or foreign investors as you can if you're considering buying a home in a different country. Again, I'll use the Dominican Republic as an example. My family, my parents, they were really thinking about buying a condo in the Dominican Republic for a number of years. And it wasn't until they talked to other expats and retirees in the Dominican Republic who kind of warned them about this new build thing going on where a lot of people get their money tied up there and it's not really a seamless process, that they decided to look elsewhere. Ultimately, buying a home isn't a joke. It's no small deal, even if you are shopping with a smaller budget. So again, getting as much information as you can is always important. That said, you don't need to be spending $1.5 million on a terrible home in Toronto or saving up for 30 years to eventually buy your dream home. There are tons of countries and cities in this world where even $100,000 can get you a long way. Who knows, it could be one of the countries in this video, but if you're shopping internationally for a house or you're shopping on a budget or you have some other recommendations as well, I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and for all of the support recently as well, guys. It really does mean a lot, and I hope you have enjoyed the video. I also hope you have a fantastic day and week, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.